Chuck Davis here. We're at Zloz Hour studio, and every night is Friday night. So let's go on and see what the fuck's going on.
Randy was on the road with Ozzy.
They say that he liked to take from classical guitar players on the road, tutoring him. And I think that's just so amazing that he had the school, he taught, but he always wanted that influence of other classical guitar teachers.
He only took electric guitar lessons for about 9 months. And the guy that was teaching at that time, his name was Scott Shelley. He went to my mom about 9 months in and said, I can't teach your son anything more. And my mom said, well, what do you mean?
She didn't believe him.
Yeah, she didn't believe him. She goes, well, what do you mean? You can't or you don't want to? And he goes, no, it's not that. He goes, he's teaching me. And that was the extent of Randy's formal lead guitar training. Later in his life, he would go to a town where there would be a university, and he would call up and he would say, do you have a music department? If so, do you have a classical guitar department and a classical guitar professor? And if they said yes, Randy would say, I want to contact him about making some bookings for lessons. Amazing. And he would go in and he would actually, you know, if it was possible to get with the guy in the constraints of time that he had, he would go and he would take a guitar lesson.
Take a different experience.
I mean, right.
See if he could find anything.
Right. Towards the end of his life, he got very, very involved in classical music, you know, which is really kind of like where my family came from. That's what my mother and father played when they were younger.
And when he was home on the road, from the road, he didn't listen to rock music. He listened to classical music.
He listened to classical music, which is also this kind of music I do.
And we're going to play some of your music in a little while too.
Yeah,
I want people to hear what Kelle does.
His music's amazing, but Kelly's, and where do you think he would be today? What kind of music do you think he would be doing?
We just got asked that question when we did an interview for Gibson. I like what you said, so say it again. Go ahead. No, what you said was...
Come on, Kathy, spit it out.
Randy, like you start on the folk guitar.
Yeah, well, like acoustic guitar, I would say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not really rock guitar, but I mean acoustic. Yeah, my gosh, he would just blow us all out of the water, I'm sure. I mean, what else did I say?
I think, well, what you said was...
Give me a few words.
He would have probably, like, had a classical basis and background, and then he would have taken that, you know, he would have gone he would have come up with like a whole new music, I bet.
He would have combined rock music with classical and done something, I think, totally innovative. And I think he would have just blown us out of the water. Absolutely.
I think I read somewhere that actually Randy was sort of getting, not disappointed, but he was just getting sort of fed up with the Ozzy thing and the rock thing, and he was about to just basically change his whole direction anyway. I can't remember where it was.
Speaking of that, the first time when Randy auditioned, he didn't even have to audition for Ozzy, but Ozzy said he had his Les Paul, one basic amp, and he started playing, and Ozzy just sat back and he said, I felt like God entered my life. I think that's the biggest compliment you can give anyone.
He was tuning up.
Yeah.
Ozzy'd been to New York. He'd looked at every guitar player back there. He came out here. He looked at everybody here. He was ready to go home. He was drunk. He was fucked up. He was laying on the floor.
And Randy didn't even want to go.
And this guy named Dana Strum said, you haven't seen everybody. You haven't seen everybody until you've seen Randy Rhoads. So Dana calls him up, Randy's teaching, and Randy's like, you know, I don't have the gas money, I don't want to go. And he's like, no, you got to go. This is Ozzy Osbourne. And Randy goes, yeah, but he's got the Ozzy on the hand, and I don't want to do that.
I don't like Black Sabbath.
Yeah, and Randy didn't like Black Sabbath that much. Anyway, convinced Randy to go.
Yeah.
And Randy went, and he was like tuning up and stuff like that.
Actually, my mom made him go too.
My mom made him go.
Good work, Dolores.
Not only did my mom make him go, she made him join Ozzy. He was very, very loyal. We were raised in a very loyal family where trust and where what you say you're going to do and what you stand for, it has to be how you are. Or
because he wasn't done. He wasn't done with
that. Well, don't get me started on that. Or else
little secret between.
Or else this will turn into a bummer. But anyway.
He wasn't done with Quiet Riot.
No.
So
he was done with Quiet
Not
Riot.
yet. No, not at that point.
He was so loyal that even though he was accepted, and Ozzy said, yeah, you're the greatest guitar player in the world, it's great, it's incredible, you're like God. I mean, I've never seen anything like this ever. My mom was the one that said, Randy, in this kind of a business, usually you get one really significant big break. And this appears, she goes, I don't know who Ozzy Osbourne is. Your older brother likes him. He goes around singing those Black Sabbath songs. I know you don't like him, but you're going to join this guy's band and you're going to go over there and make these records. And Randy's like, well, I don't have a jacket. I don't have this. I don't have warm enough shoes. I don't want to leave Jody, blah, blah, blah. And my mom goes, not time to go to Penny's and buy a coat. So, you know, the rest is history, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
That's a great story.
Yeah, but that's really a true story.
And he got someone to take his place in Quiet Riot. He just didn't leave the band. He took care of the situation as well.
No, that's not true. When he left Quiet Riot, first of all, the big joke in town was Kevin DuBrow just lost his meal card. What's he gonna do now? What he did was he formed DuBrow for a short period of time. Chuck Wright was the bass player. And then he did something that I've always thought was really amazing, and I always credit him with this. He decided after about 2 months, he wasn't going to do DuBrow anymore. He was going to go back and he was going to start Quiet Riot all over again. For a while, Greg Leon played guitar. It was a little while down the road until he got Carlos. But he actually decided to start Quiet Riot back up, and he was in that band till the day he died.
Amazing.
But Randy auditioned him.
Well, let me.
That happened in my mom's living room, and my mom was washing dishes, and she can verify it. Kevin came over, and at first Randy said, I can't make up my mind right now. You'll have to come back. Came back a couple of times. This is real similar to what happened with David Lee Roth and Van Halen too, by the way. And actually, after he came back a couple of times, they decided let's try to make this work.
Now, I just want to say something, because I hear so many beautiful stories about your mom. And could you just tell us a little bit about her? The mother of
this
Randy
musical
Rhoads and
genius
Kelle Rhoads.
family.
Yes, absolutely.
You want to talk about her a little bit?
Yeah, why don't you talk a
Just
little,
what
Kathy?
she dealt with school and raising you, and what it was like at home. It must have been just insane.
She's just an amazing, amazing woman. She's probably the strongest woman I've ever met in my life, and just an incredible person. And raised all three of us on our own, on our own.
Right.
Ran Musonia, put us in a great school. We had a great life. We had a great block when we grew up. Great neighborhood. That was really a backbone to our Randy and my
Burbank,
brother and I.
California.
Burbank, the
little sleepy town that time
sleepy
forgot.
town, and,
which is still like that,
Yeah.
It's a great place to raise a family. It's very quaint. And,
right. But she was just dedicated to Musonia. I mean, I can't picture her. It's like her. Musonia is her. She is Musonia. I mean, they're like intertwined with each other.
She has a very interesting pedigree for people that know about classical music. When she was a child, her father was a doctor during the Depression. And even though when she was a tiny child, she was started on piano, which is usually the way that people that go into classical music start, even if they don't continue on piano. Because somebody couldn't pay, her dad took a cornet, which resembles a trumpet, in for trade. In those days, doctors did that. You can't pay the bill, give me a sack of potatoes or whatever. So he got a cornet, and my mom studied with Herbert Lincoln Clark, who was John Philip Sousa's first cornetist. When Miles Davis applied to Juilliard, he played music that Herbert Lincoln Clark had written, etudes, studies for the horn. And later on, when she was in UCLA, one of her professors was Arnold Schoenberg. So these are two names that link my mom with the traditional classical music from the last century. And she literally is a living link between those people who have, they've died like a half century ago.
By the way, too, I'd like to say one thing about my mom to show what kind of a person she is. She was the first one to get women on the marching band at UCLA. And prior to her, all men only.
Especially the first chair for trumpet. She challenged She challenged the existing condition that like a woman couldn't, like play first chair, which is like, the #1 slot. And she said, I'm better than the men you have. You have to let me compete with them. Women don't get to do that. What's the matter with you? And she said, women didn't vote in 1919 either, but they did in 1920. So let me play my horn. She blew everybody out of the water, and that was that.
So she was the first feminist in the music business.
Yeah.
She's like, thanks to her, there's girls and bands.
After that, women across the board could go ahead and apply for any kind of a musical, position.
Right.
Obviously, first chair is the most.
Thank you, Dolores. Very good.
Yeah, she, like my sister said, she's a very amazing woman. She's very strong.
Very strong.
And she's still going strong.
And
Not
she's-
92 years young.
90
She's
90 years old.
She's 90 years old. She'll be 91 on her next birthday. And when she started Musonia School of Music, she was a 28-year-old woman.
Amazing.
That's almost
Right.
70 years going strong.
That's a long time to have your own company.
Oh, yeah.
And she invented the name. She designed the building with an architect. And if you want to see what that looked like in those days, just go to it now.
Yeah,
it's not changed one bit.
What's the address? Give them so they can map quest it.
It's the address is 12111 12,111 Tiara. Like what a girl wears in her hair. Valley Village. And we're, like I said, about half a block shy of Oxnard and Laurel in Valley
What's the
Village.
zip code?
91607.